Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Junk Food and You. This is the podcast where I just sort of talk about whatever's on my mind, or interview people, or just sort of talk junk food. And I'm also doing a series right now on Junk Food and You, where I've been answering common questions that people ask me when they find out that I'm a candy reviewer or find out about Candy Critic. And so this is the third part, and I'm going to answer a couple of questions. These are a little weirder, sort of more obscure ones, but I actually get them a lot. So the first one is not as much a question as it is a statement, and it's that chips aren't candy. And that statement encompasses a lot of things, because a lot of people will go to candycritic.org and see what's on there and sort of go to me and be like, this is not candy. And some will define candy as, boiled sugar, flavored maybe, and that's it. So caramel might be a candy, but like hard candies and things like that. And they even want to take out chocolate. They're like, you shouldn't be reviewing chocolate, it's not candy. And then they look at chips and cakes, and they're like, that's definitely not candy. I don't totally disagree with that statement, but there's a lot of things in food science where you talk about the name of something. Like a good example is the tomato is a fruit. There's a lot of things that are fruits that we call vegetables. There's a lot of things that are grass that we call vegetables. So food science has two ways mainly. I've studied this a little bit. Two ways of naming things. There's the scientific name based on sort of how it reproduces, what it is and everything, and how it works within the animal kingdom and the flower and fauna kingdom. And then there's sort of what we commonly know them as and how we commonly use them. So a tomato is a fruit, yes, but we often use tomatoes with vegetables. So with what we would define as vegetables, like, in a salad with cucumber and lettuce and onions. So, when you break it down, it's like, it's kind of a vegetable too. And so the tomato is a popular one to swap around because it's got fruity sort of attributes to it as well. But I sort of look at candy in the same way, in that I sort of snacks and candy and all of that sort of come together. And, I sort of to define what I would review on Candy Critic, what I generally say is you have to be able to find it in the candy aisle or snack aisle of your grocery store, or of your convenience store, or of your pharmacy, or wherever you're buying your candy, or in a candy shop. And to some degrees, I think chips fall into that category safely. And I understand that they're not, by scientific definition candy, but they're not good for your teeth. They're not something you should eat all the time, so they're sort of unhealthy. So they sort of fit under some of what I would say candy, possibilities. And when you talk about cakes, then that gets even more complicated, because then you could say, well, what about cookies? And cookies would probably follow more under the cake category as well, so maybe they're not candy. But then you look at like a Twix bar, which by definition is probably more a cookie than it is a candy bar. So by definition, I shouldn't be reviewing a Twix, which doesn't make any sense, because that's firmly into sort of the broader candy world. For sure, a Twix bar counts. So there's all these sort of flaws, and there's actually a lot of legal talk and a lot of scientific talk about how to define foods. And it's very difficult, which is why you get into things like sugar taxes. Like there's a lot of states and countries that are trying to ban sugary things, but then they say, if we ban candy, do we have to ban cookies? And it's like, no, well then a Twix bar is safe. You can sell a Twix bar, but yet a Snickers bar maybe can't, because it doesn't have any cookie. Like a Kit Kat bar is okay because it's got wafers, so it's like a cookie. But so it's a difficult legal process. And like sodas, I don't do drinks really on Candy Critic. That's an area I do talk about them in sort of extracurricular social media, but I don't talk about them specifically. So, but yeah, the responses are, technically I could sit there and argue how chips could be defined as candy, but I also argue that this is my site. I kind of do what I think is a fun thing, and that's all, and just have fun with it. And if you don't like chips, I have everything broken down into categories. You don't have to look at the salty snack section, and you should be happy. The other question that I'm going to talk about is sort of a two-part question. One part is, how do you get a job as a candy critic? I have a really simple answer for that, a lot simpler than the chip thing. You make it up. I basically just decided to make a site. This was I've talked about the origins of Candy Critic before, but I just made it up. That's pretty much it. I made it up, went out there, did it, had fun, and I still have fun doing it. So that's it. I just made it up. The other question is, can you work for me? Will you hire me? Sadly, the answer is probably no. I had contemplated for a while expanding and hiring other people to review candy. I find it's difficult. I like the idea of Candy Critic. I've reviewed everything on Candy Critic. Like, that is all my writing. I've eaten everything that you see on that site. And that's sort of something that I want to keep going, particularly at this point. You know, I've written, like, I think I'm closing in, as of recording this, 1,600 reviews. And I like the consistency of it's from my angle. So you can learn my tastes and decide if you like stuff, like if you love spicy food, you might have a different opinion about things than I do about spicy food, because I don't really love spicy food. I love sweet things. If you're not a big fan of sweet, I don't really like coconut. So if you like coconut, we might have different opinions. And I try to acknowledge that, but that's, I'm aware that Candy Critic is not the end-all be-all of reviews. It is my opinion, and I just have been lucky enough to have tried a lot of things. But, I think I don't hire people because that consistency gets lost. It's also difficult to retain people. I've had a few people, guest bloggers, people contributing, and often, other things come up in life, other interests, other things. So I kind of lose them, and which is kind of makes me upset. It's kind of not upset like, I'm angry, but upset like, because I love hearing other people's opinions about that stuff, and, I'm happy to use my platform to share it. But if you write like 5 or 6 blogs and that's it, then I feel like I want more. And so it kind of got frustrating, and, chasing people down for things. So I tend to just most of the stuff I do on my own. I have help on other things, but as far as actually creating the content, eating the candy, it's a lot of work to do this. Like most people think I just go buy a candy and eat it and talk about it and review it and write about it. But really, if you think about the actual logistics of writing a review. So I go to the store, we'll even say not traveling, like not foreign travel. We'll take that out of the equation because that's even more complicated. But I go to a store and I see a candy bar that I haven't reviewed that I want to try, or a new candy bar. So then I have to take that candy bar, I have to transport it to a place where I have a camera where I can photograph it. So I can't even eat it immediately. If it's hot out or cold, depending on the item, my ice cream selection is limited because sometimes it's difficult to transport to a place that's comfortable to eat. So then I photograph it, and then I have to actually sit down and eat it. And I think about when I'm sitting down and eat it. Like, I don't just sort of, stuff something in my mouth, because I try and write the review soon. Sometimes I'm writing it while I'm actually eating the thing. Sometimes it's a bit after. I sort of think about it a little bit, think about the experience I had. I take notes while I'm eating it all the time. So I might not actually write the review, but I will have notes for sure. And then, I have to sit down and actually write the review. It's only a few paragraphs, but I try and keep them short. So sometimes I have to figure out what's important and what isn't. Come up with a number. Then I have to input all that. I actually have a complete list of all the reviews I've done. So I have to input it, and I have to, the photos I've taken of it, I have to make sure I have to pick the right photo, set it up, and gets coded and everything like that. Like there's a lot to a review. So when people sort of say, I want to write a review for you, I sort of know that they want to buy a candy bar and say that they like it or not. But when it comes down to it, it's a lot of work. And again, I said, internationally, like when I travel, I have to pack my candy, and I pack it like wine, like it's a bottle of wine. Like we'll wrap it up in stuff, or sometimes even have like wine holders to take care of that. And if it's frozen, I just can't do it. So sometimes I have to do these. I'll bring, if I have my camera with me, which I do often. I'll have to photograph it. So I photograph it overseas. I generally use black T-shirts and sort of photograph to get that nice background. And this doesn't even take into account that I do things like quick reactions. Sometimes I do a quick reaction to something I'm eating. So if I think it's going to be a little fascinating, I'll do a quick reaction video. I got to set that up. I got to have my camera and be ready to bite into it. And so there's a lot that goes into it, and I don't think people realize that when they say, I want to work for you. I think they just, you know, Hershey's or Cadbury will send them a box of chocolates and they just get to eat it. But there's a lot to it. And if I get, that's even another thing. If somebody sends me candy, then I'm, you know, box opening videos and all that kind of stuff I got to deal with too, just to get to the point where I can review it. So that's it. That's probably why I probably won't give you a job. I'm happy to hear about the candies you've eaten. If you have a candy blog or if you're reviewing candy, let me know. I'm happy to share that with people. I know I'm not the only one. There's a lot of amazing candy food writers out there that are amazing people and have some really cool stuff and have treats that I've never even heard of before and have opinions on treats that I do know of that are really fascinating. So I would say, you know, go for it if you can do it. But yeah, chances are I'm not going to hire you. So sorry. But that's it for this. That's it for this episode of Junk Food and You. As always, you can follow me on Twitter @CandyCritic or go to candycritic.org and find links to all of my other social media, including Facebook, Patreon, Instagram, all that kind of fun stuff. You can also find links to my 2 books on candycritic.org. One is Snack Facts, which is a comic book that talks about the history of and sort of fun facts about random snacks. And then there's Treats and Beasts, which is an alphabet book that talks about the beasts and the treats they love. So make sure to check both of those out. Thanks for watching me talk about random questions, and we'll see you next time. Bye.